Hello, my name is Linda McAnany. Welcome to my show. I'm honored to serve as the president of the board of the Catholic Charities of Central and Northern Missouri. This organization covers about a little over 38 counties. Their mission in part is to provide care and create hope for the lives of the vulnerable through compassionate social services that respect the dignity of each person. It's a wonderful organization and relatively new. My guests today represent the Catholic Charities Organization. They are Michael Van Gundy, he's the executive director, and Jake Seifert. Jake is the administration and development director. Gentlemen, thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Linda, for the invitation.
I know it's been a busy time for you, so thank you. Michael, this organization is relatively new. How long has it been in existence, and talk a little bit as to how it was founded?
As an agency, we've been in existence since June of 2011. The Diocese of Jefferson City has always had an outreach service to the counties that make up the Diocese of Jefferson City, but it never had a formal agency separate from, for instance, like A Catholic Charities. Most other dioceses around the country have that kind of organization, and I guess we reached that point in time when the bishop decided we want one of our own. So that started the initiative, and then we were formed in June of 2011.
Very good. Now, how did you become involved with it?
Other duties is assigned. Saying that kind of half jokingly and half seriously, I've worked for the diocese since 1984. Previously, I was the director of Family Life Ministry and outreach to parents and adult education, and did that for a long time, and then I was asked by the bishop to be the first executive director.
What a wonderful honor.
It was, yeah, it was. I never thought I'd be doing this late in my career. But
yeah, it's wonderful to have you.
Yeah, thank you.
Jake, tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you become involved with Catholic Charities?
Well, I started working actually for the diocese after college in 2008, and I was working in the Stewardship and Development Office doing administrative and fundraising. And then in 2012, June of 2012, we moved offices, and Michael interviewed me and asked if I would want to come on board at Catholic Charities to help do fundraising, most importantly, but also do some of the administrative side of Catholic Charities work. And so that's how I kind of got involved with Catholic Charities, with the organization, to do a lot of what I do now.
Well, and with a relatively small staff, each of your positions requires doing a lot of different things, does it not?
A lot of roles.
What are your responsibilities?
Well, as executive director, just to oversee the organization, obviously integrally involved with fundraising and development too, but public relations, outreach. I sit on also some local community boards and organizations, so I've kept that in place too at the same time. And our staff is, I was trying to think, 11. I guess we have 11 full-time people that we started the agency with. The majority of our staff is in Columbia, Missouri, so it's overseeing that part of the operation too, and then whatever needs to be done. Yeah.
You find yourself having to do it, and that's good.
Yes, it's been a rather steep learning curve, but it's slowing down a little bit. Yes.
Well, you know, as I reviewed the brochure, I was reminded, and as I said, I'm honored to be the board president, but I was reminded of all the different things that Catholic Charities is involved with in our 38 county area. Let's talk about some of these services. First of all, I'll let you all just decide which ones you want to talk about.
Well, why don't you go?
Well, the couple of the services that we offer, one of is prison ministry, and that was a service that we had that's been around for years and years through the diocese. And we have done the prison ministry where we have volunteers that go into our local prisons and jails throughout our 38 county diocese, and they do volunteer work with the inmates. That's part of our social service program.
Both as a spiritual leader as well as just generally helping with the, is that
right?
Basically?
We go in and we do various activities. During Christmas, we provide them to do Christmas activities, to make Christmas cards and other activities, but mainly spiritual, and they do mass in the prisons, and they hold
good.
prayer and just a bunch of different activities in the prison.
And almost all of those roles in the prison are volunteer positions, and some of those volunteers have been doing this for many, many years. And
Yes.
so, yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, what else?
Well, our social service programs that offer a lot of various things in the social service programs, from helping people with utility assistance, with housing needs, and giving them referrals out there. We also host a Rural Life Day, which is a day in which we bring family farmers and community members together, and that's a one-time, it's an ongoing process that we do throughout the year, but we host a one big day throughout the year, and that's normally in December, the first weekend in December, and we host that day and we bring all these people together to kind of collaborate ideas for family farming and sustainable agriculture.
Now, is that held at the diocesan office, or where is that usually held?
It has always been held at the diocesan office. It still is held at the diocesan office
Okay, good.
at the building down there.
Okay, what else?
Well, I think the overall director of those services, Part 2, is Barbara Ross. And Barbara Ross has worked for the diocese, not quite as long as I have, but for a long time, in the areas of social service, rural community development, farming, rural issues and things. And so she oversees all of those programs that would fall under social services. And then, of course, in the day-to-day, she is the person that people talk to.
Sure, absolutely.
She's on the phone quite a bit. And again, being relatively young, we're not in a position to offer a lot of direct assistance, because our funds kind of limit that, but she has a lot of referral sources and a lot of networks in community. She's on a number of community boards herself too, and has her own network of people that she's able to interface with.
So many times that social service business, it's so important to have that networking, because one agency can't do it all.
Right.
And it's an opportunity for agencies to work together and collaborate.
And
So I'm
our
glad to hear
experience is that most agencies are overtaxed
Absolutely.
with requests and needs. You know.
What else?
Our biggest program is in service of refugees that we resettle that come to us from foreign lands, and they're varied in many. And also that we offer work for people who are trying to finalize their immigration status in this country. We have the staff director there is Lorna Tran, and her assistant is Alice Lathan, and they're both board certified to do immigration work. And so they do quite a bit of work in the immigration side here in Jeff City. Our refugee resettlement office is in Columbia, Missouri, and that's where the majority of our staff is. I guess we would have 7 staff members up there. Majority of that staff are refugees that have been resettled themselves over the year. In fact, the day-to-day director, Sanad, is from Bosnia, and he was a resettled refugee. And it is our biggest program in terms of outreach and in terms of funding.
And I think the important thing for our audience to know is that that is through a federal grant, is it not?
That is
Correct.
And
primarily a federal grant, and we also have a sizable grant from the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops under their migration and refugee services too. So it's a combination of a lot of factors, but it is almost self-sustaining. It's a grant-funded program.
And that is that on a bid basis, or how does that work, or is it just an ongoing grant?
It's an ongoing grant, but in fact today I have to sign letters to approve our next allocation for next year, so it has to be renewed every year, and it's on a federal grant from October to October. But again, the diocese, before it came under Catholic Charities, has been doing this work for 30-some years as well. So.
Very good. You know, I think it's fascinating because it is a very important part of what you all do, and I'm talking about from a staff standpoint, the greater standpoint. What can people do to help with that program? Is there anything from a volunteer standpoint, or what are some of the things that they might be able to do?
Yeah, we have, in our Columbia office mainly, we have volunteers that help. We have student interns, but they're always looking for volunteers to do various things in the community, from helping resettle the refugees, whatever that may entail. A lot of what we need for our refugees is household items. Furniture is always needed, and so a lot of the community members are helping gather those items and finding people that will donate those various items in the community.
Very good. And I'm assuming that it could any of the counties or people in any of the areas could get in touch with that staff and could offer those items. It doesn't specifically have to come from Columbia or that general area.
Correct. If they are located in Columbia or Jeff City, within a vicinity there, we do have the opportunity to go and pick up beds and TVs and various household items like that. If they're outside of the immediate area, they can, when they come through, they can definitely get in contact with us and
very good.
Set up a time.
Well, we're going to take a break right now. When we come back, we're going to continue the discussion about how you can help with this wonderful organization. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
More than half of America's most important military decisions are made here. No, it's not the Pentagon or NORAD or the headquarters of Air Combat Command. It's the place that employs over 50% of our armed forces. It's where you work.
See you in a couple weeks.
So when your employees in the National Guard and Reserve need time off to serve, give them the freedom to protect ours.
G-Morning, sunshine. Wakey, wakey. Text me. Are your parents home later? We can hang. LUV, love you. JK. Holla back. Holla back. Holla back. Are you with your friends? That's lame. We're in a huge fight right now. XO. What'd you dream about? Something I did. Are you on your way to the mall? I'm lonely. Nude pics. Send me some. Text me.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. My guests today are Michael Van Gundy, the Executive Director of the Catholic Charities of Central and Northern Missouri, and Jake Seifert, who is the Administration and Development Director. So, gentlemen, once again, thanks for taking the time to join me.
Thanks, Linda.
Michael, I think that we've talked about a number of the opportunities for helping people, but you personally provide some additional services, do you not? Tell us about those.
I do. One of my roles when I worked for the diocese was to do some limited counseling. There's not a counseling service provided by the diocese, and I'm a licensed professional counselor, another thing I added to my career resume, I suppose you would say. And so I have a limited private practice through Catholic Charities to provide counseling for individuals and families. My specialty area is marriage and family, but also in treatment of addictions, primarily chemical addictions, but also pornography, shopping, whatever it might be. It's all kind of in the same range of disorder. And so I get a lot of calls on that, and I see people individually, make a lot of referrals. I know the support network in terms of community resources here in other towns that will support people in recovery, not only the person addicted themselves, but also their family members. And so I do that, and I sit on a local council here for the Council for Drug-Free Youth too. I've done that for a number of years, and kind of providing some intervention services for those youth while they're still young, so they don't end up going down that path.
Good organization. We've had I've had them on at different times on the show. One of the responsibilities of any agency, and especially a social service agency, is to monitor the needs in the community. Are there any new services or needs that you've identified over the last, let's say, even a few months?
Well, I would say my personal professional interest has been in counseling, and I was only licensed in 2006, but the provision of mental health services, I think, is something that's always going to be a need. And I think even more now with some of the cutbacks in third-party reimbursement, or to offer services for people who need mental health counseling. You know, I'd like it to be a lot more than just myself, and I know that the need is there, and how to develop that will be something online. I think the other thing is one of the emphases of Catholic Charities USA, of which we're an affiliate, is to not only to respond to immediate needs, but to try to figure out ways to lift people out of poverty. So that this continuing cycle of people being poor and continuing in that, that we find ways to do that. And one of the primary ways is particularly in terms of education and or job training or job assistance. And
Sure.
we don't have that in place, but I think it's something that Catholic Charities could certainly move toward.
Yeah.
Any community, I think, could benefit from that.
Absolutely. You know, it all takes money. And we've talked earlier about, there are some opportunities for grants, but there's never enough money. How is the Catholic Charities funded? Our Catholic
Turn
Charities.
to my development, who can speak to this too.
Well, first and foremost, we receive money. We are subsidized by the Diocese of Jefferson City. They give us a chunk of money to subsidize that. As mentioned earlier, we do receive money, both state and federal grants. Most of those are for our refugee and immigration program. But we also get money through the United States Catholic Conference of Bishops, the USCCB. And we also have gotten a few small private foundations that have given us money. And probably one of our biggest areas is through just private donations, people sending in a check during our annual appeal, which actually goes out this week during Lent. It's our Lenten appeal. And
this is being taped just as we begin into the Lenten season. So by the time you see it, you will see that the appeal is out there.
Right.
And we also receive some money through plan giving is another alternative is how we receive some money.
Donations are very important is basically what
Private
it amounts
donations.
to, private donations, because they're not only ongoing, but they allow the organization to grow and those services to expand, I'm sure, as
Correct.
well. What about volunteer opportunities? Are there volunteer opportunities other than what we've talked about?
Well, we did mention the prison ministry, the refugee office. On kind of an on-call basis, we rely on a number of people to help us do a lot of our mailings and send out things, and some of our things we send to the post office or newsletters, whatever we do, because that just saves an expense of overhead of trying to do that. And so we have kind of a whole group of people who Jake can call on to come in and do those things. Or sometimes people will call and say, can I help do this? And we'll try to match up whatever their volunteer service is with some
Whatever
needs
their
that we might have.
talents
Or
are.
if we knew of another organization where they could, it's like, it might be better suited there.
And I think this is a good time to mention, if you're interested in learning more about Catholic Charities of Central and Northern Missouri, you can call 573-635-7719, or you can visit www.cccnmo.org. So keep that in mind, and we'll repeat that again before we close. Michael, where do you see the Catholic Charities in 5 years? It's a new organization, I know, but where do you see it in the next 5 years?
And some of at least the services and needs, I think, are being developed. I would like to see us move in those new areas, whether it's assistance, job training. One of the other things I think I would like to see of a niche in a community, and I hear a number of requests for people. There's always the rent and utility requests, but there's the broader area, and especially with the aging population of people who have difficulty paying for the medications, and somehow having a medication service where we would focus on trying to provide that, particularly for elderly or people on low income. But also I think it's forming more partnerships and connections with other organizations so that we're not necessarily doing it ourselves, and trying to put those partnerships together so we can address those needs as joint agencies rather than one, because all of us, again, are stretched. But sometimes putting people together, we can help answer something more effectively than we could do by ourselves. And then just kind of keeping our ear to the ground of what are needs, what are things that are coming up that aren't being addressed that perhaps we're in a position to.
I know that covering 38 counties is not an easy thing, particularly when you are when there's never enough money, so to speak. And I think that's an important. We don't like to say that, but most charitable organizations will say there's never enough money. Are there opportunities to reach out to individuals in those other counties and say, here are some opportunities for you to help us either financially or volunteer, or what are agencies within those counties that perhaps you could partner with?
Yeah, I think that we have some great agency. Barbara has set up some really great connections in those different counties, and I think we have soup kitchens and various other organizations that are within part of the diocese that she has networked with to kind of get that out there with that. And I think if people were interested in some of the counties that aren't necessarily as close to us here, to where they could drive down and do a mailing, we could get them involved in various other activities out within the community that they live in.
And within each one of our Catholic parishes too, the structure is set up that the kind of governing council has a committee of people. It's called Social Concerns that address these needs. And I think as we go along, doing more training, more working with those things, so that if you're in Palmyra, Missouri, which was one of our parishes, that whatever the work that Social Concerns Committee do could be tied in with Catholic Charities. And again, Barbara has done some training, and again, we're limited in terms of staff time to be able to do that. I was going to make a clarification too, that even though we are Catholic Charities and affiliated with Catholic Charities USA, our service population is not Catholic for the most part, and it isn't based on one's religious belief. And a famous saying that we like to say is that we're not Catholic because we're Catholic Charities, who we are. We're Catholic because we help people. That's what makes us Catholic. Yeah. That's our universal, that's our outreach. And again, all we have to do is, if people are following the news at all, following our Pope Francis, this is a message that he's been hammering home the last few weeks, that, you know, this is about us, what we need to do. That's what it means to be Catholic.
Right. That's a really good point, and I think sometimes when people hear the Catholic Charities of Central and Northern Missouri, they automatically assume that it's exclusively for Catholics. It's not.
No, it's not.
It's not by membership, and it's not by giving, and it's not by service or volunteering or whatever.
No, it's called by, it's a mission of who we are. It's what we need to do. Whoever's
community-wide organization that helps anybody in need.
Right.
This is an opportunity for you now, to speak to those out there who might be interested. What would you say to someone if they're interested in volunteering or whatever? What would you say to them?
Well, I think if there's an interest in that, they can call our office directly and talk with me or Jake or perhaps Barbara Ross. And I know the number's going to be provided there, I think, with people, so I won't repeat that. I think that's, and talk about what their interests are and what they would like to do. I think people do want to become involved. I mean, certainly we counted their donations and money, but their personal involvement. I think people look for opportunities where their volunteering or time can make a difference in people's lives.
Absolutely.
And I think that's, you know, a particular part. I think that whole service element has come to mind. I was mentioning in a meeting earlier that I now have twice as many grandchildren as I have children, even though I'm not old enough to be a grandparent yet, but my children changed that. I tell you that the idea of service and becoming involved too is, it's even just investing time in your families and being conscious of where needs are, and helping develop children in the idea that outreach and volunteering is an important part of life, that it isn't just about us. You know, life is about other people.
That's right. And if someone can't give, is unable to give, or unable to volunteer, certainly they can always pray for.
And certainly our prayer and support is always
that's right,
is essential.
For not only the organization, but for those that are served and served within the organization. And once again, if you'd like more information with regards to the Catholic Charities of Central and Northern Missouri, you can call 573-635-7719, or you can log on to or visit www.cccnmo.org. It's a good organization. There's a lot of good information out there, and they can always use your help, either financially, by volunteer, or your prayers. We'll always take that, won't we?
Yes.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for taking time to meet. And I will say that I continue to be amazed at the work that you do, and the work that the entire staff does, and what you are offering to our expanded community. So God bless you both, and thank you for doing it.
Well, thank you, Linda, and for being part of our organization and your own volunteer.
We have a great board.
We have a great board.
A lot of talent, and
they keep us hopping.
They do. Yeah. They do. They keep me hopping as well. Well, thank you again.
Thank
we
you.
look forward to seeing you next time when we will talk about opportunities within the community and the expanded community for many organizations. Look forward to seeing you again. Thank you and God bless.